I want you to pour out tonight. Right. So first of all, what's the word on the street? Is it a myth or is it the fact that money and COVID-19 do not blend?
Well, that's a two-pronged question, right? Yes, on one end, some businesses are shrinking, we are losing some money and things like that. But on the other end, there are businesses that are meant to thrive. There are certain industries that we know for sure are going to do well during this time. So I just say reposition yourself, really, because it's May now, so we're 5 months into the year.
Yeah.
And then also we're 2 months into this pandemic. It might go on until September, it might go on until December. So we just need to learn how to reposition ourselves so that we win.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that, reposition yourself. How have you repositioned yourself in this season?
Definitely the digital space. My passion for finance and fashion, I am learning how to blend those two and take them onto my social media influence. I do have a relatively significant following, so I'm learning how to utilize that to, help my community, to make money, just to, repositioning, basically.
I absolutely love that. Now, Jayne, tell me what inspired the decision to start to equip people financially?
So part of it is definitely I've always liked money. I know it sounds bad saying it.
I know, right? But thank you for saying it. People need to know it's okay to like money, right?
It sounds bad saying it, but it only sounds bad because of the mindsets and the grooming that we have had growing up about money. Money is wonderful. It's a tool. It has nothing to do with your personality. It will always meet you at your level. So if you have money and you suddenly become mean, then mean fungisai was always there.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just a tool for you to get to where you want to go. So I do like money. I do like the idea of financial freedom. And why I say this is because I was in a situation. I was with somebody else, with a partner, contracted debt, and then I was no longer with this person, and then suddenly the debt was all on me.
Wow.
Why? Because I work for a financial institution, so I ended up being the one who did the paperwork and signing the, my name to these things. So when we split up, it was just Jayne.
Wow.
The bank don't know that she no longer with this nigga. And I always say this, I'm always very careful to say this, like when I do share my story about how we split and everything, I'm careful to say that I am taking responsibility for my part in it. Yes, I was asked, somebody said there's a business deal and help me out, but I could have said no at any given point. I could have decided not to put my signature to that paper. So I take full responsibility and I take ownership. But what that meant is I was in debt, heavily in debt. I remember when everything, finally when things hit the fan, I had nothing. I had to move back home with my mom and dad.
Wow.
So my son and I started living in my parents' spare room. And then my niece, who used to live with me, and my maid had to live in my parents' TV room, which we then turned into a bedroom for them, and they would sleep on the floor because remember I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember that first day, the second day, I went to the bank and I looked at my bank account and I had 2 kwacha and 98 ngwe.
Wow.
And that was supposed to take me through the 90 days of January, fam.
Oh! Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a really harsh slap in the face by reality, because here I was this person who worked in the bank, so I knew about money. Everything that I say or that I tell people, I knew this on an intellectual level, but I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. Right?
Wow.
I was standing, I was telling people no save, no do this,
but you weren't doing it,
honey. Yeah, but then that forced me to really, really take let me say first, I had the first 3-4 months of depression and crying and everything, but I have a really wonderful support system. And so my friends, my best friend came to me and we watched this video by Caroline Mutoko that changed my life. Money, she did a money series, so money in your 20s, money in your 30s, and money in your 40s.
Wow.
So then I was at a pivotal stage. I think I was 29 and I was going into 30. So we watched Money in Our 30s, and after we watched the video, I think it was about 9 minutes or so, we watched the video and then we sat down and we started talking about our Vision 2022 because then that was 2018. So 2022 was going to be 5 year. So we decided to do Vision 2022 and we talked about it, we laughed, we drank wine and she went home. But for me, that really resonated. That was a pivotal moment for me. So once she left, I sat down in my spare bedroom and I went through and I wrote down what my Vision 2022 was. And I also wrote down, so I worked my way backwards. I set my goal and then I started working backwards. What do I need to do now in order to hit Vision 2022? And the first thing that is tackle this debt. I can't keep saying Fungisai made me get a loan. Fungisai made me get a loan.
No.
Like the loan is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And debt is expensive because if you look at the amount of interest that we pay on a loan, there's nowhere on the market where you find a savings account that matches that amount of interest.
Yeah,
if you're paying 20%, 30% on your loan, there's nowhere that a savings account is going to give you 20%, 30%.
No.
So debt is expensive. So I decided that I was going to get rid of this debt. So that was my first step. I set my goals. Well, then I didn't know that I was doing this, Now looking back, I can structure it in such a way. But I set a goal and I found out what I needed to do, like working backwards. What do I need to do to get to where I want to go? So that was the first step. And then I started putting those things into practice. When I tell you I was leaving, so because, so then I was married, right?
Yes.
And then it didn't work. And so, but then it didn't work and I left, but it was a period where I wasn't sure if we'll go back or won't go back. So I was trying to keep it under wraps.
Of course.
So what we used to do is my dad would drop me off at work in the morning, like 6:50, I would be at the office.
Okay.
But that gave me an extra hour to work on Jayne. So I read books. I read devotionals. I watched a lot of Caroline Mutoko. I watched Jay Shetty. And I found other inspirational people like Tony Bailu, Master Shri Akashna. So I fed myself with positive things before my workday started. And also, I would stay later at the office. So there was one friend who knew in the office what was going on. And so I would wait. He would wait with me. And we would leave the office at 18:30 or 19. So then people wouldn't ask questions like, why did her dad drop her off? Because remember I was broke, so I couldn't even afford to put fuel in my own car. These people were doing me a favor. So I would stay later, and when I would stay later is I'll take on extra work. So sometimes I'd work overtime. I'd log it in. If my boss needed something done, instead of me saying I'll do it tomorrow, I would do it and I'd log it. I'll tell her I'll work overtime. And then she would sign off. And then sometimes I would work on my own stuff. I had my own business working. I was setting up my own things. So I'd work on my own stuff. I'd take on private jobs and I'd work on those during that period. And so then when I would get home, it would just be my son. So what that did is it built my resilience. It gave me time to internally work on my plans and set out in clear terms what I needed to do. But it also gave me a head start on everybody else, because while you're still fighting with your child and me, I'm already at the office and I'm working
on you.
Yeah, and then I'm taking overtime. So the overtime helped me increase the amount of money that I was taking home. So I doubled up on my loan repayments.
Wow.
So instead of paying a 2,400, I think it was supposed to be a month, it went to 4,800. So I doubled up because I wanted to pay it back in the shortest period of time. And then I took jobs at the weekend. If there was a project happening in the office and they needed people to go and people were like, no, I don't want to go, Jayne would be going. Because I know I'm getting an allowance for going, but I'm also logging overtime hours. So that was helping me. But also, if I didn't have anything at the office going on or no projects at the office going on, I was taking my own private jobs. So that's literally how I crawled my way out of debt.
Isn't it funny that before all that happened, you couldn't imagine yourself doing all those things?
Never. Me?
And then
work on a Sunday?
And then debt brought you to your knees.
Fam, it's a humbling experience, because one of the other things that you have to do is you have to talk about it.
Yes.
These people have paid for my school. They raised me. They paid for me to get a degree. I got a job. A relatively good job, and then I have a master's degree now.
Wow.
Why are you back in my house? Why are you sleeping in my spare bedroom? Why are you not
You have to
contributing
be accountable
food?
now.
Yeah. So I did have to like literally humble myself. I talk to my closest people. I don't believe that your story should that everybody is entitled to your story until you're ready. So for me, it was also a healing period. Remember, there was the emotional side happening and the financial side. So I sat down with my parents. Privately, I told them, this is what's going on. I'm in this much debt, and for the next couple of months, I won't be able to do this and this, and then I need a space. And they said, stay as long as you want. So I was fortunate in that way. But also, I had to bring in some of my closest friends. I had to be like, babe, you know those trips we used to take? She can't afford it. Like you remember how we'd always go out like and every Friday night and do girls' night?
Pop bottles.
We can't pop bottles anymore because man can't. You know what I mean? I really had to be honest. So my closest people knew, and they were so supportive. I think most of us are ashamed to tell the people we love and are close to us because we think they're going to laugh at you, and the world does laugh. But that's not how they react, is not my problem.
Yeah, that's true.
My job is to stand in my truth. So if you're my friend, I'm going to tell you I can't go out with you anymore for a period of time because I can't afford it. So you're either going to offer to say, come, I'll pay, or it's cool.
It's okay.
But really, if we're really good friends and I tell you I'm in debt and I'm struggling and you say, let's go out, I'll be like, One of the things you could do is actually be like, okay, we're going to spend 1,000 on our night out. Here's a 500 kwacha. Let me help you out. Yeah. So that was my experience. But yeah, it took time. It took me 2 years to get out of debt.
Wow.
But it's over.